The next cut is what's called a peeling cut. Now, there's two ways of doing this, but the first part is the important bit. You've got to make sure that the blade is flat and anchored to the tool rest down here. The heel of the bevel must contact the timber before you bring the cutting edge into contact with the thing. And it's up there like that. Slide it back until it raises the cut, and then you rotate in, and as you can see, it describes an arc towards the centre. So you've got to raise the handle as you're going down to keep the bevel rubbing, like a parting tool. You can either have the cutting edge straight across like that with the chisel angle back this way, or you can have the chisel at right angles to the timber and the cutting edge off on the skew. Both have their merits and both have their downfalls. So we'll just do each one in turn and you'll see what I mean. So, anchor down on the rest. This is the first one, straight in with the bevel at an angle. Now, as you can see, we've got a nice shoulder here that's fairly straight and a dovetail or an angled tenon down here, which is great if you're using chucks or anything like that to put it on. The other way of doing it is have the chisel at an angle and the blade, the cutting edge, parallel with the timber. Again, angle it over like that. And you end up with a straight tenon like this, but in most cases it gets a little bit undercut down here because of sideways pressure of holding the cut in place with the chisel. Now, that undercut there can be handy sometimes. If this was a lamp stem, for instance, and you've got a parallel tenon here that's going into a hole, this provides a little bit of a well for glue to go up into. So, as I said, they both have their good points and their bad points. Generally, the finish off the tool when you cut a tenon is generally a little bit rough down here. In some cases that's good because if you're gluing it into a hole, that gives a little bit of extra grip on the glue. It doesn't wipe it off when you go in. So a little bit rough there is not a bad thing in most cases. Now, in order to straighten up this edge here, because it's slightly undercut, we do what's called an end cut or a trimming cut. Now, I've coloured in the bevel there so you can see where the tool is actually bearing, but if you want it to go straight in, the bevel must be facing the way that you want to go. It's got nothing to do with the shaft of the chisel, it's the bevel itself. So if you want it to go straight, the bevel has to be facing like that. If you want it to go across, it's got to be facing like that. If you want it to come out, it's got to be like that. And it's cut with the extreme long point, and in order to get clearance to the chisel, you must give it a little bit of side angle, about 5 past 12, like we were doing on the V-cuts. Don't try to take too much off. Pace and slowly is best in this case. And you should end up with a nice clean face down along here. And you can see from the shiny bit on the bevel here where the bevel was contacting. It's not cutting up here, it's the extreme point, and just that shoulder there is supporting the cut. What you have to be careful in this cut is that you don't apply a great deal of side pressure to the bevel rubbing in here. It is just a light cut like this, all the way down until you reach the tenon down there. If you apply side pressure, you end up getting ripples down the face because it bounces on the end grain. So a light pressure that way. Good way to practice a cut so as you don't exert side pressure on is this. And I thank Alan Batty for his video on this, where I picked up the idea. Just use a 10mm parting tool. If you've got a narrow one, just make it 10mm wide for clearance for the chisel to work. Take this with one hand, coming down, take light cut, the rest getting a few little nicks in it, so making the chisel jump as it goes down. You can see the nicks in here. That's why it's important to keep these tool rests smooth. The object is to see how thin you can get this. I think it's been a little bit undercut from the parting tool. There we are.